On this episode of Just Informed Talk, former FBI Director James Comey set to testify on Capitol Hill today. QAnon's got a lot of information for us. You guys should stick around if you want to hear it, and much, much more. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. First of all, thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you guys haven't done it, come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you're notified when these videos get posted. Now, here we are, guys. These are the new Q posts, and we have a bunch to cover. Today has been a big day for drops. We've had a lot of information starting at about 1 o'clock Eastern, going all the way well into the evening. Q has been posting and posting and posting. And let me tell you, there's a lot of information here that we're going to cover in this video. Here's where we left off. We left off at Q post 2522. We're starting here on Q post 2523. If you guys want to get caught up on the latest posts, I encourage you to come back here to the landing page. Watch these last few videos. Make sure you get all this information. Share it on your social media. It'll give you a good idea of where we're at and what, basically update you on exactly where Q has been going with the latest posts. And right here, if you're scratching your head going, what in the world is QAnon? I encourage you to come here, watch this video, make sure you share it on your social media, get the information out there. But this will explain basically what QAnon is, where to find the information, how to find, how to do the research, how to get involved, all that stuff. If you guys want to learn that, watch that tape. Again, share them or video, share those on your social media. It helps out the channel big time. Okay, guys, so first, like I said, we're just going to go right into Q post 2523. First, we have this older Q post from September 30th. Right before we went into the month of October, Q had been talking about Red October for quite some time. Now, this post talks about Rod Rosenstein. What specifically about Rod Rosenstein? Well, it just talks about the fact that Rod Rosenstein worked with Jeff Flake, the senator out of Arizona, Flaky Flake, the guy who basically has been the biggest thorn in the side of the GOP I've ever seen. He's continuing to get into these little movements on Capitol Hill with Democrats like Chris Coons, and we all know that they're best friends, buddies. They were traveling around with the Obamas, going to Africa, doing all types of weird stuff. So these guys are definitely not trustworthy individuals, to me, in my opinion. That being said, this whole post is basically, it talks about treason. It says define treason. And I think that's what Q wants us to look at specifically in regard to what we're going to cover here, because it gives this President Trump tweet where he says treason. And then it gives this picture of a previous post from Q back in 2000 or January of 2018, which basically was talking about the military detention of U.S. citizens, right? Interestingly enough, there's a lot of information here that we should cover. So let's just look at this. Q gives us 3 internet articles here. First, they all talk about Guantanamo Bay, basically. One says that there's been a new detachment deployed to Guantanamo Bay in Cuba for, I think, like a 400-day deployment. And we'll have to double check. Yeah, 400-day deployment in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. They've been sent down to Guantanamo Bay. So something's going on there. The next article talks about how President Trump has really been putting a lot of resources into developing Guantanamo Bay into a more, I don't know what the developments are other than they've been doing a lot of renovating and they've been changing the whole facility. And, according to this article, it says that they've spent $200 million in new construction, and it's basically been an incredible amount of work that's gone on down there to renovate the full facility, probably to expand it to hold more people, right? So there you go. That's one. And then the last one that we got was this one here, which talks about the Pentagon delivering new guidelines on transferring detainees to Guantanamo Bay. So, of course, these are 3 articles about Guantanamo Bay that Q wants us to look at directly. Now, why would Q be pointing to us to this? Well, let's read. It says, they are unlawful enemy combatants, it says in quotes here. It says, questioning Graham Kavanaugh regarding enemy combatants unusual, define treason. Executive Order 1119, or January 1st, 2019, DOJ Office of Legal Counsel opinion regarding detained regarding U.S. citizens regarding enemy combatant, drops combined paint a full picture. Do you believe in coincidences? May God bless those who fight to defend our great nation, we the people, Q. Of course, obviously what this is saying is putting everything together. As we've talked about before, there was a line of questioning during the Senate confirmation hearing for Justice Kavanaugh where Lindsey Graham asked a series of questions to Justice Kavanaugh, which actually inquire about how U.S. citizens can be deemed actual enemy combatants. Now, in order to kind of give you an idea of what he's talking about here, this is what Q's referring to when Q gives us this link here to this PDF, which actually lays out what that means. It says, the fact, and this is just a quote from the 18 USC 4001A, the memorandum regarding the applicability of that toward military detention of United States citizens. But it says right here, one interesting part of this document that I want to share with you, and I'll leave a link to this document down in the description. It says, the fact that a detainee is an American citizen thus does not affect the president's constitutional authority as commander-in-chief to detain him. Once it has been determined that he is an enemy combatant, as the Supreme Court has unanimously held, all individuals, regardless of citizenship, who associate themselves with the military arm of the enemy and with its aid, guidance, and direction enter this country bent on hostile acts are enemy belligerents within the meaning of the Hague Convention and the law of war. So there you go, guys. I mean, it talks about how just because you're an American citizen doesn't mean you can't be held as an enemy combatant if you are found to have violated certain principles established, or certain, basically thresholds established by the Supreme Court. Okay, so with that in mind, thinking of that, when it says they are unlawful enemy combatants, this is what the whole importance of the question was, because Senator Graham was trying to get Justice Kavanaugh to basically say, look, I understand the laws surrounding the fact that United States citizens can be basically detained under the rules or under the law, and that they can be enemy combatants, right? Now, why is this important? It says define treason, and then it says 1119. Now, what is this? Okay, guys, this is where it gets really, really important to kind of follow along. There's a lot to cover here, but it all goes back to this, right? This right here. This is Executive Order 13825. This was signed by President Trump March 1st, 2018, and this basically, it amends the manual for court-martials in the United States. Why is this important? Because there were several key changes to this. But in order to understand this, you're going to have to understand another executive order that was signed by President Trump and how it relates. Now, oddly enough, I found this thing over on westvirginiasports.com in one of their forums, off-topic discussion boards. And it's talking about these executive orders. And actually, obviously, I think this person's definitely a Q follower. But they put them together perfectly. And what do I mean by that? Well, here you have the executive order that we just looked at. That was the amendment to the manual for the court martials. What does that do? Well, it goes through this basically an Obama era manual amendment executive order, and it puts a date for it to be made effective. And that date is January 1st, 2019. And that's noted right here it says the MGA will take effect on January 1st, 2019. Now, according to other reports I've read, I guess this was basically something that was put together by Obama, which is kind of the irony, the beautiful irony of it all, that this was manufactured by the Obama administration. It was effectively basically taken by the president and his staff, amended further, and then given a date to become effective. And what does this do? Well, you have to look at it in conjunction, right, with, I'm going to point to this one here because this person put these three together perfectly, which I think is great. But this executive order that was signed by President Trump back in December of 2017, which, as you all will remember, was the one that went after basically human traffickers, anybody who is involved in serious human rights abuses and corruption. And this was the executive order that President Trump signed that basically said that these individuals were guilty, who are guilty of, committing, trafficking crimes, that kind of stuff, corruption, all of that, or human rights abuse, that they can have all their assets seized and without, basically they're susceptible, which is when you saw CEOs like Eric Schmidt step down, when you saw other CEOs step down, and people step down continuously from this day forward. because they knew that their assets were connected intrinsically with their guilt or innocence, right? Now, there's a lot to read into here. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you guys, but I will say this, that the other thing that this person was putting together basically was this other part here, which was a subsection out of the actual new military tribunal laws, which talks about espionage and treason, and actually lists treason as an offense that can be punishable by a sentence of death, and how this can be tried inside of a court, a military court. That is really what this is all talking about, right? Now, what is also important to note about this is that the executive order that was signed up here in March that actually amends the process for this actually allows public officials to end up in these courts and end up subject to their authority as per putting it in conjunction with those other orders and executive decrees where you can actually create a case to say that a person is actually, even if they are American citizen, can be considered an enemy combatant. Now, this is a lot of legalese, and there is a lot more of this, and I probably got a few things wrong that I'm sure people are going to let me know about in the comments, but that's the general gist of it. So I hope that made sense for you guys. And that executive order becomes effective January 1st, 2019. So this is why everybody's been looking to that date based off of that executive order, and then in conjunction with other executive orders and other legal precedents that are withstanding. This is really important to look at. Now, you put that all together, right? It says drops combined paint a pretty full picture. Do you believe in coincidences? No. Guys, if they were going to go after the elite in our country who are allegedly or possibly involved in all types of treasonous crimes, then this is how they would have to do it. They would have to make sure that all of these little pieces of the puzzle are in place before you can actually see what the full picture is. So that's it for that, guys. I would go into that. I could probably go over that for an hour, but I'm not. So I'm going to go right here in the next one. The next one is this graphic, right? Q wants us to look at this graphic. Well, what is this graphic? It says nothing can stop what is coming, nothing. And it talks about Rod Rosenstein no longer overseeing the Russian probe, how the new acting attorney general, Matthew Whitaker, has basically taken all authority over on the special counsel. And then it talks about, you know, all these different stories about President Trump's going to reportedly look, it's a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to go through each one of these articles, but I will say this. The graphic's pretty great because it puts together all of these old Q posts, right, which highlight what Q's been telling us about all of this, right, and how this is all coming together. I mean, this is a great graphic, but it takes a long time to read, and there's a lot of information in here, so I'm not going to go over every single thing, but it points to kind of like the timeline and the evolution of how all this happened and what information we'd be getting when and what it all refers to. And these highlighted parts basically talk about things that we've been told by Q, which paint the whole picture. You guys, John Huber, Inspector General Michael Horowitz have been working behind the scenes with a team of 470 investigators. They've been investigating everything that has to do with Clinton Foundation, emails, Uranium One, so on, so forth. There's so much there. They've had all these investigations going on behind the scenes. People have even suggested grand juries had been impaneled. Sealed indictments obviously exist. There's 50 plus thousand of them. But Q wants us to look at this because, you know, it's a proof of Q, really. I mean, it says goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. We've been hearing this from Q for like 3 months now, and it's really here. I mean, look, Rod Rosenstein is no longer overseeing the special counsel. Therefore, I don't understand what people are saying. Oh, it's, you know, why is nothing happening? Well, this happened, right? And this is happening with Huber and Horowitz. So, I mean, guys, I think that's what the whole point of the graphic is. Q says, think multiple meanings. Quote unquote, goodbye. 1, fired and or removed from DOJ. 2, removed from special counsel oversight. 2, completed. 1, coming. Learn our comms. Huber, FISA's two-way street, Q. Okay, guys, that's basically what I was just saying. Look, Q's telling us this. All the times that you heard goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein from Q, one of them's come true, and it's the removing him from the special counsel oversight. Q says, is the next one coming? That he's going to be fired or removed from the DOJ? Well, I think it is, actually. And then it talks about Huber's FISA's, and it's a two-way street. So, you know, The FISAs are going to uncover everything. The whole investigation is going to show what has been going on, and once they show the full scope of the investigation that John Huber has been doing behind the scenes, everybody's going to really understand why there are so many people who are panicking in DC. Now we'll just move on for time's sake. The next one is Q here responding to his own post saying goodbye, quote unquote, Mr. Rosenstein, removal, special counsel oversight. Did Rod Rosenstein feel safe post Air Force One 30-minute meeting with POTUS? Did Rod Rosenstein communicate meeting back to handlers? When your enemy feels in control, panic regarding Whitaker, panic regarding Huber. Why has the FISA court kept quiet regarding discovery of fraud perpetrated on court? When an When an operation is active, these people are stupid. Q. All right. So simply put, look. Q's telling us the goodbye Mr. Rosenstein was definitely a direct insight into removing him from the oversight of the special counsel. Q's saying when Rod Rosenstein had that meeting, you guys remember a few weeks ago, when Rod Rosenstein went and met President Trump on Air Force One, what was said there? I mean, we can't really know, but I can speculate and say it was very possible the president sat him down and said, look, Jeff Sessions, basically just saying Matthew Whitaker is going to take over as the acting attorney general, and he's going to oversee the special counsel. You will no longer have any oversight capabilities in that regard, and you are going to be off of that case. So what did he do? He scurries away, gets on his phone or gets on his Gmail and does a draft, dead drop, spy communication, whatever you want to call it, or hires a skywriter. I don't know what these people do at this point to avoid being listened in on, because obviously Q and President Trump and the NSA, they have their number. They basically know what they're doing. But it says when your enemies feel in control. So obviously Rod Rosenstein reached out to the people who were handling him, the higher ups, probably higher individuals than him, which would be pretty high up. And it says when your enemy feels in control, that means that they felt that they were in control, right? But they're panicking about Whitaker, they're panicking about Huber, and the reason the FISA court has kept quiet about the discovery of fraud perpetrated on the court is because there's an ongoing investigation. Like it says, when an operation is active, in an ongoing investigation, you don't discuss that investigation, or you risk tainting the result of the investigation itself, or hindering its ability to come to a fair outcome. But it says these people are stupid, and I couldn't agree more with Q when he says that. So, yeah. With that being said, here's the next one, which is a tweet. It says, and Q gives us this tweet, and it's talking about Berlin. And shout out to Berlin. We have our Q followers out there. No sprechen Sie Deutsch, but I don't even know if that's German. I'm sorry if I screwed that up royally. But look, the point is, congrats to all of you out there in Berlin, in Germany, in the world, around the world. This is a movement that's not just about us here in America. This is a movement about doing what is right. This is about justice. This is about the equality of law. And that is applicable in every free nation in this world. So I don't look at borders when I look at the Q movement. I look at borders when I look at people walking across them illegally, though. But that's for another video. Now it says a world united is a beautiful thing. People are inherently good. We stand together, Q. And again, I can't agree more with that sentiment and those words. Now the next one is a quite dissatisfied Anon who's on the Q board saying, what happened to 11/11 Unify or 11/11/18 Unified America Day, you disgusting liar fraud? Answer, Freddie, you expletive. I won't say those words because they're childish and stupid. Anyway, but it says, think waves. Q wants to respond to this guy by saying, think waves worldwide, define unified, 17, satellite knockout, forced new classified tech online by who, controlled moment activated, 17, do you believe in coincidences? Do you believe your efforts here to persuade people to stop the pursuit of truth? And then it says CA_J. And then it says, there is a place for everyone, Q. I don't know what the heck is being said here, because I have been reading some of the craziest stories. First of all, we all know 17 is Q. Why would Q put 17 in the kill box, the metaphorical kill box with these brackets in bold? I'm not 100% on that. There are some very interesting theories about what this is all talking about, especially when you take some of these clues that are put in here. And to the Anon who wrote this message, basically just one of the many doubters out there, a lot of people have speculated basically that Q was telling this guy that he knew where he or she was or who they were. But I don't know about all that. I'll tell you this. The interesting theories I'm going to share with you about this are pretty fascinating to say the least. So first of all, 11/11/18, what happened? Well, we were supposed to have the Veterans Day parade, which was supposed to be the first military parade in D.C. It was going to be this glorious day, and it was a great day. It wasn't a bad day. I enjoyed the day, okay? But it wasn't anything spectacular. But something very interesting did happen. Now, Q says, think waves worldwide, define unified. Now, there was something interesting that happened on that day. There was this strange seismic activity, these seismic waves that rippled around the world, leaving scientists bewildered. And this was on Sunday, November 11th, this year, 2018, at 9:30 a.m., there was basically a series of unusual seismic pulses that were rippling around the world and almost undetected. Now, the waves rang for over 20 minutes, emanating about 15 miles off the shore of Mayotte, which is a tiny island in the Indian Ocean between Madagascar and Africa. One of the fascinating little details about all this is right here it says the mysterious waveform from Mayotte was a crisp zigzag, which repeated after steady 17-second intervals. So what it talks about is how there was basically a wave pattern. It was a seismic shift. All of the seismographs were picking this up across the world, and these weird zigzag patterns that had scientists going, what in the world's going on here? And they're being picked up all over the world. This was on November 11th, and they were coming in at 17-second intervals. Okay. Now, I'm no, whatever scientist, even though I am kind of, but I'm not a whatever physicist or seismologist, excuse me. But I can tell you this, that if this is all connected, what Q's saying is that there were satellites that were knocked out, and then some other system came online. Now, when that system came online, the question is really, was it overtaken by Q? Guys, I know this is really bad analysis here, but yeah, there you go. It's interesting to me because if you think about it, this is basically making the insinuation that those satellites that we were told were brought offline, the ones that were being used by apparently the deep state bad actors that were taken down by the Q or military intelligence or the NSA or whoever, were actually then supplemented by this different system that was brought online, and the moment it was activated, it was controlled, meaning that they probably anticipated that by taking down the satellites, their next step would be to activate this other system, and then this other system was basically co-opted. Now, that's how I'm reading it. And then it says, talking back directly to that person who made that comment, it says, do you believe your efforts here persuade people to stop the pursuit of truth? And I would say no, obviously. If anything, it makes you think you're over the target more when you have people who are that vicious in their doubt. But then it says CA_J. I don't know if that's California J, like telling the guy, hey, we know where you are. But I don't know. That could be something else. I've been trying to look this one up, and I don't know. If you guys have thoughts, leave them down in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on what it is. Now, the next one here says, power belongs to the people. You are what matters. All you needed was a spark to unite together. They are scared. Think fake news attacks. Second only to POTUS himself. Together we win. Trust yourself. Think for yourself. You are not alone. Open your heart and your mind. Where we go one, we go all Q. And guys, I don't even need to explain that. That's pretty simple. The only thing that I think I'll take a second for is this right here where it says second only to POTUS himself. We are in fact the second most attacked next to the President of the United States, we the people, the Q movement, this information that's been going around the fake news media to get information directly to you, the people, so that you can make your minds up about what you think's right and wrong, because that's so important. And we're just going to go right in the next one. So the next one is this post from a person who goes by the name of Happy Homemaker, at Happy Homemaker, saying, was just at my Wichita Costco and found this note on my windshield. I've had these stickers on my dirty van for months. So nice to see at least one other patriot here who trusts the plan. And it's this lady who had the Q stickers on the back of her truck, and she got a note saying, I've never seen another Q patriot in real life. God bless you, patriot. Where we go when we go all MAGA. It's nice to know you are out there or out here. And I thought that was cool. Right? It says, do not mistake silence for size. This movement is larger than anyone can possibly imagine. God bless Patriot Q. And I couldn't agree more with that. Just because we're not all actively screaming at the top of our lungs like a liberal who hasn't gotten their way, I think it doesn't mean that we're not there. So the next one says, what are you witnessing in France, or what you are witnessing in France has nothing to do with gas. Forced narrative. Vive la France. And it says Q. Now, if you guys remember, Q will point us to it here. There was this post Q gave us back on June 19th, right, where he says Viva versus Vive, which he was saying Viva la Resistance, and then it had this JC in the kill box, and it was in the metaphorical kill box, I should say, which is just the bold in brackets. And it says, why classified by Intel communication at highest level, define title, define role with Mueller, exchange shelters, very senior member Q. Now, this one was interesting to me, but I'll read this next one. It says, you are learning, and on JC and Viva la France, riots in France today, Comey testimony. Do you believe in coincidences? And of course not, right? But so what Q's saying is you guys have all seen what's been going on in France. Now, basically the gist of what's happened here is that Paris has been faced with these yellow vest riots. Basically, the middle class is getting really upset because the cost of living is going through the roof, and a lot of the people out in the suburbs can't keep up, and their quality of life is going down. There's no employment. There's a mass influx of these migrants. There's just a really, really bad set of conditions in that country right now that are causing a lot of people to be very upset. And this was all, in my opinion, a very foreseeable outcome to bringing in all of this basically nearly uncontrolled surge of migration from Africa and other parts of the world. But that to me is part of what Q's saying, part of it. They say at first, it's all about gas. Gas prices went up, so people started rioting. But that's not really it, right? I think it has to do with all the other stuff I kind of outlined before, and how there's just a changing, anytime you have such rapid change of dynamics of demographics, you're going to have this violent conflict that comes with it, because people aren't really easy to accept change all the time. And that's what Q's talking about. And then this previous one, though, was interesting because this, as I recall, was not directly talking about James Comey. It was actually talking about John P. Carlin, who, when it talks about Mueller here, was the former, I believe, chief of staff for Robert Mueller, and how these were shelter exchanges. And John P. Carlin, if you're asking who he was the former, I think, associate attorney general, who would have been one of the people who could have been elected into a position of taking a temporary role in that office. But the point was to show that John P. Carlin was there working at the highest levels of the DOJ, and it's no coincidence that Robert Mueller was brought in, who was his former boss. And it's just, to me, that's what it was all talking about. But then it says JC and Vive la France. So JC, obviously, double meanings. Q says there's a bunch of them. And it's James Comey and France. And then it says the riots in France with Comey testimony tomorrow. I don't know. I think that there's so many news stories that are going to drown out this James Comey story that that's why we have to keep these internet news organizations, whatever you want to call them, alive, like myself and a lot of others that do this stuff, because the mainstream media is not going to talk about this. You know what they're going to be talking about tomorrow? I guarantee you they're going to be talking about all day. They're going to be talking about George Bush, may he rest in peace, right? And they're going to be talking about these French riots. And that's pretty much, they're not going to be talking about the French riots, and they're not going to be talking about James Comey, I should say. So that's pretty much the way I see it. And So there you go. And the next one here is a Q post. This is an Anon posting these tweets from the White House where it says, "Together we have reaffirmed the truth that light will always break through the darkness. We send our very best wishes for a blessed and happy Hanukkah, President Donald J. Trump." Now, then it gives the full message here. You can actually go and read it. It's basically President Trump just giving a statement on Hanukkah saying, warmest wishes and that we'll never forget the people who are lost their lives tragically in Pittsburgh at the Light Tree of Life synagogue. And that's pretty much it, like a happy Hanukkah. It's kind of like those normal presidential messages that go out, during holidays to say, God bless you all, wherever. And but Q says, light through darkness. Do you believe in coincidences, Q? Yeah, I gave up coincidences months ago, and I've never felt better. No, but seriously, I don't anymore, and this is just another example of why I don't. So, light through darkness, this is a theme that we've been running here on this channel with Q, and Q's been running with since the beginning. It's light versus darkness, it's good versus evil, it's the ultimate battle that we are in here against an incredible evil. So I think that's really what the point of that is. But if you guys have different reads on it, you can let me know down in the comments. Now, the next one is this tweet, from Breaking News Live, which talks about a group of French police officers removing their helmets to show solidarity with French people against President Macron in the anti-Macron protests, right? And you can see here in this video, all the cops are taking off their helmets, and it's solidarity. They're one with the people. So... but I mean, I don't blame them because, like I said, the conditions that were laid to make this riot and all this stuff possible were basically just a malfeasance in government and an inability to effectively govern the nation for the benefit of the people. It's for the benefit of the elite now. It's for the benefit of the globalists. It's for the benefit of all those who have haves, all the haves and not for the have-nots in that country and in a lot of countries around the country, including ours to a degree, but we're working on correcting that. Now it says, nothing can stop what is coming, nothing. History books Q. So basically the new world order that was developing over in Europe with their European Union and their, solidarity with one another as far as countries go is basically being tested right now by the poor management of their individual countries by not only the European Union officials, but also individuals inside of their own countries and politicians in their own countries and the way they've handled that. And then the next one says, ask yourself a very simple question. Why is there a total and complete MSM blackout regarding France, Belgium, Germany, EU riots, etc.? When you're awake, you can see clearly. Fake news equals enemy of the people, Q. Well, because they're standing up against basically the monolithic, unaccountable, unelected EU that has come into each one of these individual countries and forced them to take on policies that have ended up destroying their economies, making huge raises in unemployment, causing all types of cultural, social clashes as far as, when you have a whole different set of people from a whole nother part of the country who are not adapting as well to the norms and laws in these EU member states. So you have basically the perfect storm for what happens when you put a bunch of unaccountable, unelected bureaucrats in charge of a confederation of countries, and then they end up just putting through policies that do nothing but destroy the middle class, steal money from the average hardworking tax-paying citizen and give it to both the top 1% elite and the bottom 10 to 50% or whatever in this redistribution that comes in the form of, these huge migration movements and how they've opened their borders. So that's kind of what I think Q's getting at there, and that's why they won't cover it. But hey, we're here to do that because they won't. In France, I know what they're saying. They're running around the streets saying, they took our jobs. Yeah, I'd throw that in there. Anyway, the next one here is another tweet. This time it's from this Andre guy who is in The Hague right now. look, he's got a Q shirt. And see, it's not about America. I mean, it is a big part of it is America first, President Trump, what we're doing. But this is global. And like I said, it's not about anything other than, right and wrong, good versus evil, equality of law. That's all that this whole movement's about. It says, united we stand, patriot, together we win, where we go one, we go all, Q. Now the next one, the final one, is another tweet. This time, this is of this gentleman. And I'll go through after this episode and retweet all these on my timeline. So if you guys want to see these tweets, you can go to my timeline. But on Twitter, and I'll give you a link for that later. This is the guy who went into a Chick-fil-A and sang "God Bless America," and it's an incredibly moving a song. And I really always, whenever I hear it, I kind of am moved. But this guy's rendition is really great. It's impromptu. He just walks in, sings it, everyone claps. We're all Americans because you just walk into that restaurant. There's no one type of person. There's just a mix of Americans there who are patriotic and proud of this country. And I share that sentiment 155,000%, 1,000,000%. I agree. So it says, be proud. The world is about to change, Q. And yes, you guys should be proud. So that's where I'm going to wrap. If you guys want, I have a few things to go over. Stick around. We got to talk about some important stuff. First of all, if you want to help out the channel, the best way to do is come here, click the big red subscribe button. You guys, I'm trying to go for as many subscribers as I can. You guys don't know how much it helps the channel. It gets our voice louder, and it puts our information out there in front of more and more eyes. So when you come here, you click that subscribe button. It helps the channel big time. Watch these videos. Share them on your social media. That helps as well because YouTube ain't promoting my videos, I don't think, at least, because they don't want this information out because they try to control the narrative. Also, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights down in the comments because I want to hear what you have to think, especially about certain things that I may have gotten or didn't get all the way through on. If you guys want to elaborate more, like I say every time, we try to have our own QAnon research board at the end of each one of these videos, so go down and leave your thoughts. Also, come check out justinformednews.com. It's a great site. It's got great links. Got links to all these different news articles. You got links to all these news websites. You have links to all the QAnon research stuff. So go check out justinformednews.com. Also, like I said, you can find me on Twitter. I'll tweet out all of those things after this episode. So you can come find them here on my Twitter feed. You can find that at Justin_formed. You guys can come follow me. And yeah, we can be in touch on Twitter. And I can, retweet your posts. You can retweet my posts. And we can have a happy, nice relationship over there. Also, I'm going to be in D.C. in 2 days. Wow, this is crazy. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. for the American Priority Conference. We're going to have incredible people there. We have Corey Lewandowski. We have David Bossie. We have Roger Stone. We have Mike Cernovich. We have Laura Loomer. We have Jack Posobiec. Now, I know you guys are like, oh, I don't like those guys. Some of them I don't agree with. It's not about agreeing with them, guys. It's about going and having a conversation, and that's what I intend to do, and that's why I want you guys to do the same. There's still time. You guys can still sign up. You come here to AmericanPriority.com, click this button to register. You just pick what kind of pass you want to the conference, fill out your personal information. You can use the coupon code WWG1WGA, as in where we go one, we go all, and that will get you a good discount on the ticket, and I want to see you guys there repping the Q, wearing your shirts. You can come meet me, even though I don't, who am I, right? You can come meet all these other cool people. It's a great, great event. If you're going to be in DC next week, please stop by and say hello. Also, in order for me to do these kinds of things, I depend 100% on you guys. And the crowd funding site, Patreon, is where I do it. You can come over here to patreon.com. That's patreon.com. Search Just Informed Talk. Click this button to become a patron. Once you do that, you can make a monthly donation, and it helps the channel. It makes it possible for me to do things like travel to Washington, D.C. and participate in this conference and report on it live for you guys, and to get everything that you guys have been sharing with me to the people out there that are making a big difference right now. So when you support the channel here, that makes a huge difference, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Also, if you're not interested in doing the monthly donation, you can come over here. I set up a GoFundMe. It's gofundme.com/just-informed. Click the donate now button. Once you do that, it's a one-time donation. You can make it anonymously. Links to both will be in the description. So thank you so much for your kind generosity. Now, before we go, we're going to talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for that, I'm going to take 1 second to read this incredible psalm. And it is Psalm 7. And what's important to me about Psalm 7 right here is it talks about a prayer for justice. And I just want to read the thing in its entirety because I think we all want justice in all the things that we've discussed here. And the ultimate justice always will come from God. So we have to put our faith in him. And I hope this prayer helps you understand how to do that better for yourself. But it says, Lord my God, I seek refuge in you. Save me from all of my pursuers and rescue me, or they will tear me like a lion, ripping me apart with no one to rescue me. Lord my God, if I have done this, if there is injustice on my hands, if I have done harm to one at peace with me, or have plundered my adversary without cause, may an enemy pursue and overtake me. May he trample me to the ground and leave my honor in the dust. Rise up, Lord, in your anger, lift yourself up against the fury of my adversaries. Awake for me. You have ordained a judgment. Let the assembly of peoples gather around you. Take your seat on high over it. The Lord judges the peoples. Vindicate me, Lord, according to my righteousness and my integrity. Let the evil of the wicked come to an end, but establish the righteous. The one who examines the thoughts and emotions is a righteous God. My shield is with God, who saves the upright in heart. God is a righteous judge and a God who executes justice every day. If anyone does not repent, God will sharpen his sword. He has strung his bow and made it ready. He has prepared his deadly weapons. He tips his arrows with fire. See, he is pregnant with evil, conceives trouble, and gives birth to deceit. He dug a pit and hollowed it out, but fell into the hole he made. His trouble comes back on his own head, and his violence falls on the top of his head. I will thank the Lord for his righteousness. I will sing about about the name of the Lord, the Most High. And guys, I want you to just take that away. Just let that kind of sink into your heart and know that all we can do is look to God first in everything, and then live according to that strength and courage and wisdom that God gives us, and understanding that God gives us. Those are the things that we can do, because that's what's inside of our control. Everything else, put it back to God. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you for watching this episode. If you guys haven't hit that subscribe button, like I said, it helps the channel out huge. Thank you so much for coming and watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.